Hey guys, these capless fuel fill tubes have been around for years now, and there's still a lot of confusion over them. I guess it's because they're just so out of the norm from what we're used to looking at least for me, fooling with these diesels for over 50 years. That's the first time I've ever seen a diesel engine without a cap on the fuel tank. But in a sense, that second check valve is a cap, so I guess you could look at it that way. The only problem is you don't have any. If you get water in there, you're getting water in your tank, or trash, or anything that gets in there. Now, have you ever filled your tank up to the point like this, actually higher than this, where you get diesel fuel running down the inside of the back side of that panel there, where your filler is? Well, I'm going to show you why that's like that and why you get fuel running down the back. And I think that's where that misconception comes in about people thinking, well, there's a overflow in there that will, let water out and trash go out and things like that. It won't go past that second check valve. But as you can see, I filled up. I drove about 15 miles, and I've still got diesel sitting on the top of that check valve. So there's nothing there like that. Now, if you take a look at the bottom of the truck here, you'll see some different things here. On the right side there, that's your DEF main fill tube and then the vent. Very simple. On the left side is the diesel side, and it's simple too. We tend to overwork some of this stuff, I think, sometimes, but it's just not well explained by Chrysler is the problem. But you can see that you've got your vent, which runs straight to the tank, and all it does is vent the tank. And that's because you've got fuel returning back from the engine. It's going to the engine, it's coming back from the engine, so you've got to have some sort of vent to equalize the pressure. Otherwise, you would have a pressure lock situation or overpressure situation or a vacuum or something that wouldn't work. So now if you see right there where I'm pointing with that shaky screwdriver, there's a little hole right there. And that's where that fuel is leaking out from when you fill it that high. Now that check valve, that bottom check valve, is way down where that tube swedges down. So there's 3 tubes involved in the diesel tank. One is the vent that we spoke about. The other is that tube there, which just lets air out. As you put fuel in, you've got to displace the air that's in there, and that's what that's for. And that's why sometimes we have trouble with these click-off pumps. If you're not holding it, even if you're holding it, and the darn thing won't stay, you can't set it and just turn it loose because it'll keep clicking off. That tube right there is below the check valve at the bottom check. So what happens is it really needs to be higher up so that when you stick the fill tube in there, stick the nozzle in there, it would be below that hose, but it's not. So what happens is diesel fuel kind of backs up into that hose, which is supposed to be nothing but air coming back out and, allowing fuel to go in the tank. But what happens is you get a little diesel in there, and then it pressures up, and then those pressure-sensitive fill nozzles click it off. But that's what's going on with that. The best thing to do is try to hold it as far away from that hole as you can, move it around, get it as deep as you can. But this is why, right here, is why a lot of times you'll see that you get I don't know if you can see that little hole down right at the bottom of that mirror, but that's where the fuel leaks out. You've also got 2 little square slots in there. I'm not sure whether they actually let diesel go to the outside or go back into the filler tube, but that little hole down at the bottom, you can see it from the back side of the truck if you really get close to it and look at it. But that's where that fuel is leaking out and running down the back side of the truck when you overfill it. I don't know what the purpose of it is, other than maybe to try to help stop from running the diesel over the top. It's not very helpful if you know, it's a very small hole, but it doesn't have anything to do with preventing trash or water or anything from getting into your fill nozzle. As soon as you stick that nozzle into that filler tube, any trash or anything that was sitting in that on top of that check valve is going down into the tank. So I'm not sure what that's for, but that is the reason why we see fuel running down the backside of the panel there when we run it up, fill it up a little bit too high. So I just wanted to show you that. There's been a lot of confusion about why we see fuel running out the bottom of our truck when we fill it up like that. That bottom check is really the cap itself. It holds both ways, but really you need to get a aftermarket cap and put on that thing to keep trash from getting in that hole, because any trash that gets in that hole is going down into the tank, and eventually one day, you know, it may get to the point where it'll start causing problems. So I hope this helps, guys. Till next time, adios.